Hey Enneagram friend, this is Abby Rodriguez, your certified and IEA accredited Enneagram teacher and coach. In this space, I'll give you a sneak peek into real live coaching sessions and teach you how to apply the wisdom of the Enneagram into your life for personal growth. The invitation each episode is to take on a posture of curiosity about yourself and others, so that you can shift from merely surviving to fully thriving in your everyday life. Visit my website at abbyrodriguez.com and listen into this episode to learn more. In this teaching episode, I want to share with you some thoughts about processing your emotions. This idea of feeling your feelings or experiencing your emotions comes up a lot in the coaching episodes that you're hearing, but also my hope is that that's coming up in other spaces you're experiencing. But sometimes, even when we're on board with that invitation, we have this awareness that we need to experience our emotions. We're not really sure how to do that. And especially as our type structure comes online, some of those aspects get filtered out for us. And so I want to share with you some practices for naming your feelings and experiencing your emotions. So as you are in this space where an emotion is coming up for you, maybe you are feeling dysregulated, maybe there's this buzzing sensation you're experiencing, maybe you know that you're upset because you're crying, and that's the key indicator for you that something's going on. When that emotion comes up, I want to invite you to pause and first notice that you're having that feeling. When we are going in the hustle and bustle, when we are, parenting and our kids are running around, when we're in the middle of our work day, we're in these spaces that are not really conducive for us to pause and really acknowledge what's going on for us. And so whether it's in the moment or it's later when you're in a space that has more support and more comfort for you, to be able to pause and notice, what is the feeling? What's the feeling that's going on right now? What's the feeling that's been lingering all day? And give yourself some space to name it, to slow down enough to name it rather than just pushing it out of mind. The name you might have is that it just feels uncomfortable or it feels bad. That's okay. It doesn't have to be a clear language for that emotion, but just naming and noticing what you are feeling. Next, take a deep breath and pause and really notice the felt sense of your experience. So as you take a deep breath and, with some grounding practices of feeling your feet on the floor and your seat in the chair and really breathing deep down into your diaphragm, that deep belly breath, noticing what sensations are in your body. What physical felt sensations can you feel? Is there a rigidity in your shoulders or maybe in your jawline? Is there kind of this tightness or heaviness on your chest? Does it feel like there's this clenched feeling in your throat, like the emotion can't get past that throat space? Is there kind of a buzzing feeling in this past episode, coaching episode with our type 6? We talk about this idea of it feeling jangly is kind of the language there. So what's the felt sense? What do you notice in your body? And as you sink into that, can you allow that sensation just to be? Can you allow the emotion that's tied to that physical sensation just to be, without trying to change it or fix it, without holding your breath and trying to fight back the tears? Can you just breathe through that sensation and allow it to be? And as you allow it to be, can you be curious about it? Not this judgmental, condemning, you shouldn't feel this way, you don't have the right to feel this way, why are you so emotional? None of these judging thoughts, but a gentle curiosity of, why is it there? What is it showing me? Is it communicating to me that something has been lost? Or there's a grief, there's a sadness there, that my feelings are hurt because a boundary was overstepped, that maybe I wasn't aware that I needed that boundary to be there, to be stronger than it was. What's the emotion that's coming up? Sometimes emotions are such a foreign language to us that we also need to take time to get more language around what emotions are even an option for us. One of the tools that I use in my growth and self-care series is an emotion chart. If you just Google that, there's lots of them that will come up. But even just having some more language for emotion so that it doesn't just fall into these big categories like sadness, fear, happiness. Sometimes those feel too big, but it breaks it down into these smaller things like confusion, despair, nervousness. There's some of these things that feel more relevant to our experience. And so giving yourself some space to actually have more language for that, and then to name that emotion that's coming up for you. And as you're curious about that emotion, being curious with that gentle inquiry of why is it there, to be compassionate with yourself. We also talk about this in that Type 6 coaching episode. Just this idea of how can we offer ourselves the kindness that we would offer a friend if we were sitting next to them as they were going through this experience, as they were experiencing this stress or this grief, this hopelessness, this overwhelm, this sadness. Can we offer that same compassion that we would offer to a friend? Can we offer that to ourselves? Can we be kind to ourselves rather than telling ourselves just to be tougher or to just keep going or to not be so whiny about things or whatever that criticism, that judgment, that critique that comes up for you? Can we instead be kind and just acknowledge, yeah, I'm hurt and I'm allowed to be hurt because I'm a human and that's a normal emotion. I'm really stressed and I'm allowed to feel overwhelmed because that's a normal human emotion. Can we be kind to ourselves as we notice these things? So that might sound all well and good as I kind of walk through these steps of processing an emotion. But sometimes we still need a little bit more support to do that in the moment. Sometimes that support comes in friends helping you in that process. It doesn't have to be as step-by-step as what I just listed. Sometimes that support also can happen with a practitioner. One of the things that I often do in one-on-one coaching is kind of guiding people through these steps. But another resource that I want to offer for you is a guided meditation that I've referred to multiple times in different coaching episodes, but it's called the Welcoming Prayer, and it's a guided meditation that you can access for free on InsightTimer. But I also, while we're in this space, having this conversation, I want to share it in this episode too. This welcoming prayer, the basic structure of it was originally created by a woman named Mary Mrouzos, but people most commonly know it by the ministry of Father Thomas Keating and his contemplative ministry and centering prayer. And the prayer helps us to process our emotions by addressing them where they're stored. They're stored in the body. And so in welcoming prayer, we consent to God's presence. We consent to the action and the presence of God in our emotional reaction, in our life experiences. And so if you're not sure how to process your emotions or those steps feel too hard to do on your own, a welcoming prayer and this guided meditation is a really great place to start because it walks you step by step through this process. So if you're walking around the house right now as you're listening to this podcast doing errands, I want to invite you just to sit down for a moment, to pause. The meditation is only 8 minutes, to offer yourself the kindness of 8 minutes to be present. If you're driving, you can still do this meditation just with your eyes open. Ignore my invitation to shut your eyes. But that's okay too, even while you're driving, to go through the steps, to be present in the moment, to breathe deeply and offer yourself this kindness of just 8 minutes to be present and to experience the emotions that are happening either right now in the moment or as you recall something that's been heavy on your heart. It's been weighing you down in this season. Okay, Enneagram friends, this is the guided welcoming prayer meditation. I want to invite you to close your eyes or have a soft gaze in front of you if that feels more comfortable. And as you close your eyes, to take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. To settle in to the chair you're sitting in. To feel your feet on the floor with the earth supporting you. To feel your seat in the chair. To elongate elongate your spine, but allow your shoulders to settle in. And continue to breathe deeply. As you settle into that space, I want to invite you to consider something that's heavy on your heart, something that feels overwhelming. Maybe it's a conversation that didn't go well. Maybe it's a relationship that just feels stressful. Maybe it's a circumstance that feels so challenging. Maybe there's a loss and you're experiencing grief. I want to invite you to picture what's heavy in your mind, whether it's the person, the conversation, to be there, to get a sense of that overwhelm, that heaviness, to sink into it, and continue to breathe deeply as you do. And with that heaviness in mind, I want to invite you to consider what emotion is coming up for you, but also to feel it in your body. As you breathe deeply and sink into the present moment, what does that heaviness, that circumstance, feel like in your felt sense? Maybe there are knots in your stomach. Maybe there's a heaviness on your chest. Maybe there's a buzzing sensation at the end of your fingertips. Maybe there's a tightness in your throat or rigidity in your jawline. What does it feel like in the felt sensation, in the felt sense of your body? And as you consider the felt sense, I want to invite you to observe it non-judgmentally, with a gentle inquiry about what emotion is there. Maybe there is some sadness. Maybe there's a feeling of betrayal, a feeling of loss, fear, concern, anger, frustration. What emotion comes up for you in this heaviness? And as you name the emotion, or maybe not, maybe just in allowing it to be there, I want to invite you just to sink into it, to imagine your breath going into the places in your felt sensation that feel uncomfortable, offering that life force, offering some comfort and support, not trying to change or fix it, but allowing it to be, allowing the sadness to be, the fear to be, the anger to be. Continue to breathe deeply as you sit with that emotion, welcoming it and allowing it to be. When you're ready, I want to invite you to consider God's presence, to consent to the presence of God in this emotion with you. Again, not to fix it or change it, but to allow God to be a part of this experience with you, to join you in the anger, to join you in the sadness, to join you in the fear, allowing God to be present there with you. into that present moment, into that moment with God's presence with you. And when you're ready, I want to invite you to release that emotion. Release the need to control or change or shift that emotion. Release the need for affirmation or validation to cover over that emotion. Release the need for a sense of certainty or safety or survival around that emotion. Release the need to try to control it in any way, but instead letting it go and releasing it to God, allowing the emotion to be, and then when you're ready, with God's presence supporting you, allow it to go. Hey Enneagram friend, I'm so thankful for your curiosity in listening to this Enneagram coaching session. Although participants can learn a lot in just a brief coaching session like this, the transformational work really comes in a weekly coaching engagement with a certified Enneagram practitioner. If you feel stuck, discouraged, or overwhelmed by an aspect of your type, or maybe just a situation that you're trying to navigate, schedule a free discovery call with me at abbyrodriguez.com/coaching and see how coaching can help support you in your everyday life.